Okay, here we go. Welcome, everybody. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance, this board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. It's a bit cumbersome, so I ask you in advance for your patience. First, because each member of this board participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all the other members. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member Winifred is going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from which you're participating. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. Are you with us, Winifred?
Yes, I am. Ready? Okay, Mary Lipsy.
Mary Lipsy from Springfield.
Gretchen Bolivar.
Gretchen Bolivar from Fairfax.
Kara Herrick. Kara Herrick. Greg Wilson.
Greg Wilson from Great Falls.
Elise Murray.
Elise Murray from Vienna.
Barbara Neff.
Barbara Nate from Reston.
Ann Stunts.
Ann Stunts from the Vienna area of Fairfax.
Steve Sherman.
Steve Sherman in Franconia.
Phyllis Walker Ford.
Phyllis Walker Ford, Clifton.
Barbara Peters. Barbara Peters. I know I see you, but you're muted. Barbara Peters.
Peters, Annandale.
Ann Barnes.
Ann Barnes, Mount Vernon.
Sally Lyons.
Sally Lyons, Colchester.
Tammy Manarino.
Tammy Manarino, Mount Vernon.
Sue Kovac Schumann. Lynn Garvey Hodge. Lynn Garvey Hodge. I see you, but I don't hear you.
I thought I was unmuted. Okay, Lynn Garvey Hodge, Fairfax County, Springfield District.
All right. Jordan Tenenbaum. Jordan Tenenbaum.
I haven't seen Jordan.
Okay. Esther McCullough.
Esther McCullough, Herndon, Virginia.
Shara Ann Rapetti.
Jordan Tannenbaum checking in.
Okay. All right. Shara Ann Rapetti.
Cheryl Rapetti, Centerville here.
Bob Beach. Bob Beach. David Mayer.
David Meyer in the city of Fairfax.
Thank you.
Great. Is that everybody? Thank you very much.
I couldn't hear Sue Kovac.
Yes, that's
Sue Schumann.
She asked that, right? Earlier.
Is Sue
I-
here?
Yeah, I said I was here.
She did respond.
So the people who we didn't hear, who aren't here, are Carol
Kara
and Bob's not here yet.
Kara and Bob Beach.
Okay.
Only those two.
Thank you. At this point, I will pass the virtual gavel over to my vice president. And
Vice Chair, yes.
Vice President. So I may be heard to make the requisite motion. I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board.
Second.
Esther seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? The motion carries. Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures. The fact that we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this board to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting, and as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require the physical assembly of this board and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move this board may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated telephone line, and the public may access this meeting by WebEx virtual meeting. Attendee call-in 1-844-621-3956, access code 173-000-3900, Fairfax, Virginia. It is so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Esther seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Finally, it is next required that all of the matters addressed on today's agenda must address the state of emergency itself, are necessary for continuity in Fairfax County government, and/or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of this board's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Esther. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Are there any opposed? Well, in that case, that motion carries too. Gavel, Jordan. All right, welcome everybody. We are going, Ellen, you're lucky today. We're not doing a lick of business before your presentation. So you get to miss the minutes, the chairman's remarks, and all that stuff.
Wow.
So
I'm excited.
I know. Somehow it doesn't always work that way. Welcome. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Great. And I have to give a shout out to Barbara Naif, because Barbara, I don't know if you remember, we go way back to the Park Authority days. Long time ago, decades ago. It's so nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too, Ellen. Yes, a long time. It gets longer and longer.
I know. Okay.
Ellen, this is Mary Lipsy. How's your daughter?
My daughter is doing very well. She, as some of you may know, she's a breast cancer survivor at the age of 34. So she's doing extremely well. She works for Lowe's in Michigan, and they're having a fabulous holiday season. So
Good.
Even though it's COVID, what can I say? So
Hey, Ellen, I'm 13 years out now.
wow, that's great. Yay. I'll tell you, it's really something. So, how do I share my screen? I have a PowerPoint presentation.
I'm going to pass you the ball right now, Ellen. Is Jack Curley with your group, Ellen?
No, Joan Beecham is here with me tonight. I saw her in the lineup. And
Yep, I'm here.
and Kim Callahan may or may not be here. I didn't see her name, but Joan's here with me.
Okay.
And it's important for you all to know Joan, because as I exit, I don't think my contract's going to be renewed. My contract ends at the end of this month. And Joan will be taking over the master plan and the building one, which will be getting started next year, which you'll learn about when I talk about the master plan. So Joan will be your point of contact in the future. So let's see, if I hit share, Let's see. My screen, maybe if I pull this up. Nope, that didn't work. Do this. I'm not familiar with WebEx, so somebody might have to help me with this one. Share my screen.
We're seeing your screen now, but we're seeing, there we go. It's here.
Denise is a great coach. She's a wonderful coach.
Okay, everybody uses a different virtual platform, so it's sometimes difficult to get to know all of them. Okay, it's been a little while since we gave you an update on the judicial complex, formerly known as the Massey Master Plan. And we have pretty much wrapped up the master plan, and we wanted to give you an update. We promised we'd come back and do that for you. So that's what we're doing this evening. Your group is one of the first to get to see this. It hasn't been totally rolled out yet to all of the county stakeholders and the board members. So just be aware, this is kind of hot off the press, so to speak, and you're very privileged to get to see it. So on your screen, as you are aware, is the judicial complex, bounded by Chainbridge Road and Main Street and Judicial Drive, the courthouse, the old courthouse, and post office is back here, the Burkholder building at the very back of the site. Just to refresh you, the master plan framework and scope of work included coordination with the surrounding community, including City of Fairfax and George Mason University. We looked at site infrastructure analysis. We looked at integration of the historic structures into a vibrant urban community. We looked at a long-term plan to meet the needs for multiple stakeholders, and it gave the county an opportunity to synthesize and effectively facilitate a discussion of trade-offs, challenges, and opportunities through a number of work sessions and community meetings. We also looked at possible public-private development opportunities and put together a budget roadmap for future funding. Also, to refresh you, I think we've talked about these before, there were a total of 5 priorities made for the master plan. 4 of them were developed by the land use development team, which included representatives of all the various stakeholders that are on the site or would be moving to the site. And then 1 came from the county executive leadership team. They were to sustain a judicial complex that is safe and secure for visitors and employees, create a welcoming and accessible complex designed to efficiently facilitate access and interaction with county-wide judicial and public safety functions that is compatible with the surrounding community and its context. Respect the integrity of the on-site historic resources and enhance the public's experience of these assets. And identify opportunities for public-private partnerships to create complementary secondary uses through strategic planning and site design. And the 5th one is to use available development capacity on the site for consolidation of county lease space and additional county programs. This is just a list of all the stakeholders that are currently on the site and the ones that are coming to the site in the next, with it sometime between now and 20 years from now. So this is a 20-year plan. So the new ones are Health Department, Office for Children, Workforce Housing, and some potential commercial uses. This slide just shows that we looked at the entire complex, and we looked at did a facility assessment for all the buildings on the site, and we looked at what buildings would remain and which ones may go, and where our building opportunities on the site were located. So the blue buildings that you're seeing here on this slide are all the ones that are staying on the site. There's a few that are in gray that we are proposing to be demolished to make way for new construction. This is the master plan that has been developed in conjunction with the land use redevelopment team that included all the various stakeholders, as well as the county executive leadership team. And just to give you some highlights, we've put the old courthouse is here. You'll see that the wings on the back are gone. There's a new entrance that comes in from the western side or the back side. This is not the front of the building, but it's the side that the public pretty much all goes to. And the feeling was that we needed a more celebrated entrance there. The one that is at the back of the old courthouse is very small and congested, and really does not celebrate the building as it should. So, and then it's all encompassed with a green space, so it becomes a really nice park, open area to give the old courthouse some breathing space. There is a large promenade from Main Street to the front entrance of the courthouse, and I've got some images of what that might look like. Some of the uses for this promenade could, besides a visual access to the courthouse so you can see where you're going, this is also a great avenue for where the farmers market could take place all along here. You could have festivals, tents, that type of thing. On weekends when court's not in session. The courthouse remains here. There's a new drop-off. We've realigned the entrance with South Street in the city of Fairfax. And there's a new promenade park area that comes up from the public garage B, accessing the new buildings, building 2 and 3, building 1, and to get you to the courthouse. The building 1 is right here. This is the first building that we are looking at building. It would include the police evidence storage, which has already been approved in a bond referendum. And it would also include Commonwealth's attorney offices. They are expanding. There is no place for them in the courthouse proper. So this is an opportunity to give them the breathing and expansion space that they need, as well as getting the nonprofits that are currently in the Burkholder building out of the Burkholder building and closer to the courthouse, which is where they want to be. There would also be secure parking in this building for employees and the police evidence storage. And we envision that it would probably connect in some fashion to the courthouse. So there'd be access between the two. There's another new building here, building 2 and building 3. Building 2 is thought to be perhaps for county agencies like the Department of Health, Office for Children. Building 3 has no identified county users. It could potentially be a P3 development. Diversion and Community Re-Entry Center is located here in the center where the old police evidence storage is. And this is a new program for the county. It is diverting people out of the jail and giving them a place to be rather than wandering the streets. That's the simple explanation. The workforce housing is at the back here at where the Burkholder site is located, and it is residential. It would be developed by Housing and Community Development. That's kind of the master plan in a nutshell. This is an aerial view of what it might look like if we were standing at the corner up above at 123 in Main Street, looking towards the Adult Detention Center over the top of the old courthouse. So you can see the lovely promenade here that comes off of Main Street to the front of the courthouse. The park area that comes from Garage B where the public is parking, and the really nice green space and breathing space given to the old courthouse. There's a hotel proposed going in here, so I don't have any design for that. That's being handled by the city of Fairfax. The applicant is still working on their design proposal, but we're just blocking in something there. And there's also some new apartments, I believe, being proposed where the Domain Funeral Home was, or currently is located. So this is another view. If you were looking up towards the old courthouse, up Page Avenue, or toward from the post office towards the old courthouse, this is a view of what the walkway and promenade from the public parking garage would look like. And this is the new proposed building 1 here. This is a view from the promenade from Main Street, looking at the front entrance of the courthouse. So you can see you have a very clear view of where you're going. And to the right on that picture is where you could have the farmers market, festivals. This is just showing the potential of where building 1, how it could blend in with the architecture of the current courthouse, looking from 123 towards the front of the courthouse. And then this is the rear, which might become a new front for the old courthouse, and just an idea of how there could be, how the wings could come off of the back, and there could be a new facade here at the back of the old courthouse, new entry. One thing that's not showing here, and I want to point this out, we told the architect we can't have all those steps going up. It has to be ADA accessible, so there's going to need to be a series of ramps or a different way to get in. So I expect that particular design right here is going to change. So this is, like I said, it's hot off the press and you're the first to get to see it. Couple things that I thought you might be interested in from a cultural resource point of view. The historic jail roof replacement, the design for that is in process. Don't know if you were aware that we believe during the earthquake that we had almost 10 years ago that that roof was structurally compromised. And we do have funding, emergency funding in place to get it replaced. The building it's pretty involved. They're going to have to take the entire roof off and rebuild it. And because we want to keep it looking just the way it always looked. It's a rather complicated little project. So the design is currently in process, and then it'll go to construction, I'm guessing early next year. The old courthouse grounds, we have recommended to be included in the capital improvement program, including the wing and sally port removal, the wall relocation, the stone wall that's along 123, and putting in a new pedestrian walkway along Main Street in 123 that is safe, and a creation of a more celebrated historic grounds and green space around the old courthouse. We are also recommending in the capital improvement program, about 5 years out from now, a full renewal of the old courthouse, including all the building systems, repointing the brick, all the things that need to be done to keep that building in tip-top shape. Relocation of the Legato School is being proposed to go to the old courthouse site, and I did not point that out. Let me see if I can back up here. The Legato School right now is here, kind of in front of the courthouse, and we're proposing to relocate it to this corner behind the old courthouse. So this whole block then becomes a cultural resource, a historic park-like area. You've got your historic jail, the old courthouse, and the Legato School all in one block. So I neglected to point that out to you earlier. And then last, as we were talking about, the large green open spaces that are being created around the historic elements to highlight and celebrate Fairfax's rich cultural heritage and give the old courthouse some breathing space from some of the new developments that are coming. And then I wanted to let you know that we are finishing up our review on the final reports for the master plan. The presentations of the master plan to the stakeholders in the community will be next year. And building one, we will be starting a concept study of that building and who exactly will be in it, what it exactly will look like, how much it's going to cost, all of that. Joan will be taking on the beginning of next year. And I've included Joan's information here if you need to contact her after the first of the year. Her phone number is 7. You don't mind me giving this out, do you, Joan?
No, go ahead. It's right there.
You might want to note it. 5668, and she can be emailed at joan.beecham@fairfaxcounty.gov. And that is it. So I'll be happy to take questions if you have any questions.
Ellen, this is Mary Lipsy. Parking is a question I have. It's increasing hotel and possible residents, etc. Parking is limited there now. What are they doing to increase parking?
The hotel has to provide all of its own parking within its site, and they are providing underground parking. There's several levels being proposed of underground parking underneath that hotel. We have looked at parking for our facilities, and we can accommodate all of our parking needs within Garage B and then supplement it with additional underground parking under the new buildings. So, for example, in building 1, we are planning on providing some underground parking there, but it would be secure parking in that building for the courthouse employees and police and sheriff. But buildings 2 and 3 would also have underground parking. And the thought is that some of that would be for the public, plus those streets they're proposing on-street parking as well. So there'd be some quick access type parking along some of those streets. Let me see if I should have pointed that out to you too. There's so much and it's hard to discuss it all in such a short period of time. But all along here, this new street and this street, they are proposing on-street parking, and also here.
Ellen, you're no longer sharing.
Whoops, sorry. Let's see, what do I need to do?
Try to unshare and then reshare.
Yeah, share. Did that do it?
No.
Okay, well, I will.
I'm satisfied. That's fine. This is Mary.
I
You can
will.
answer my question.
Yeah, there's a lot of on-street parking. The new streets are being proposed to have wider sidewalks with street trees and parking, kind of like you would have, I guess, maybe in Mosaic District, there's some on-street parking, isn't there? Or in Fairfax Town Center, there's on-street parking as well as parking lots and parking garages. So there's going to be a mix. The idea is to really energize and activate the site and make it a more vibrant part of the community.
Thank you.
How will it work, Ellen, going forward? Because we've got, we've just got so many of us who are deeply concerned about the history of the site, the historic buildings, the markers that used to be there, and the replacement markers, and the archaeology if we're moving that retaining wall. There's just a million issues that we as the History Commission, along with staff of all these different parts, we just care about it all. And how will we be folded into what happens next?
The full report that the consultant has done for us on the master plan includes there's a whole section in the appendix that was done on the cultural resources on the site. And we know from working with Denise and with Lori that we need to make sure that buildings are documented before they're torn down, that we have, all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. And I think I've instilled that into Joan. So Joan knows moving forward that these are things that we have to keep in the forefront. Maybe not so much with building 1, because building 1 is really more of an expansion of the courthouse. But definitely as we move to the old courthouse grounds or to building 2 or 3, there definitely will need to be an archaeological survey done before we disturb any ground. And we will need to make sure that those concerns are taken care of. And they are documented in the report. And the report is done so that when I'm gone, or if Joan's gone, somebody can pick that up and they know what they need to be looking for and what they need to do. So that was really one of the purposes of the master plan.
Yeah, because there's so many resources up there.
There are. It's amazing.
Good, thank you. What questions, everybody?
I have a question about the sidewalk and the area right there at Main Street and Chainbridge. It is very narrow now. So when that wall gets relocated, you did use the word relocation, correct?
Yes.
The wall. Okay. How wide would the sidewalk be then? It is very narrow now, so I'll miss having to jump away from the cars. But how wide will that be? 8 feet?
I don't know exactly how wide. It needs to be a safe distance. It's very dangerous right now. I had some conversations with city staff, and they were proposing that the sidewalk along there be 10 feet wide. I don't know if that can really be accommodated, but I would think as wide, at a minimum of 5 to 6 feet. But if we could get 10, that would be wonderful.
Well, that means moving a lot of dirt if that happens.
I know, and that's why I'm concerned, because in front of the old courthouse, the grading may not allow 10 feet. But definitely it needs to be wider than it currently is.
Yeah. Thank you. I have an opinionated thing. I really do like the workforce housing where it is located there. I hope that's successful. Very much needed. Thank you.
For sure. Do I see a hand from Lynn?
Yeah. Ellen, thank you for taking the time and thank you for the thorough presentation. I have two questions, and one you may have already hit on and I missed it. The timeline, start to finish, is how long approximately?
The look we did for this master plan is a 20-year look.
That's what I thought I heard you say.
And building 1 is first. It's starting next year.
Okay.
It takes us 5 to 7 years from inception to opening the doors.
Sure.
So building 1, you can probably assume it'll take at least 5 years. And after building 1, we would be looking at building 2. The old courthouse, we've recommended that we start on that in the next 3 to 5 years. So some of them, the phasing will overlap. I had a phasing slide, but it was really confusing, and I just didn't want to confuse you, but we've got it phased out over the next 20 years.
Wonderful. Wonderful. My second question is, it appears to me, my visual response is, this looks like the attempt was to make this space restful. Was that a
We
theme?
want it to be dignified.
Yes.
Because it is the courts, it
Sure.
is our judicial system, and it needs to have some dignity to it. We also, though, want to activate that site and make it an integral part of the city. Right now, it feels very walled off and very self-contained, and it just doesn't flow well. We think that activating it this way and kind of opening to the city, even though we're the county, I think it makes a lot more sense. And it definitely sets up areas that are judicial. It sets up areas that are county agencies, and it blends them together with these really nice green spaces that the public can enjoy on weekends or after hours. So it's a nice blend, I think.
And what does our mayor have to say of Fairfax? Does he have any thoughts here that he can contribute? Hey there, David.
I have quite a few comments about this facility, as the whole 48 acres is surrounded by the city. The city supports an adjustment to the location of the existing stone wall. And I think that would greatly enhance pedestrian access to the historic courthouse area of the Judicial Center grounds. There is essentially no sidewalk there at all along Chainbridge Road. actually twice in the last year and a half, portions of the wall have collapsed. That wall was constructed in the 1930s, I believe, and it's not really it's a decorative wall, but it doesn't really meet the safety standards for a wall along a road that is a state road that has that much vehicle traffic. And fortunately, both times that the wall has collapsed, the stones have fallen out onto the road in the middle of the night. And as soon as it hits the road, it's in the city. And so it's our public works crews that have been responsible for coordinating with the county for these repairs and other things. This past year, I asked the staff to tell me just exactly how much money does the city spend of our own resources simply on direct costs related to the presence of the Judicial Center campus. And the amount on a very conservative basis was about $250,000. And this is everything from public works to police coordination with the county and the sheriff's department, et cetera. This is a natural consequence of our geography, and we certainly want to be in a collaborative relationship with the county and the historic, especially the historic areas of the campus. But we also would like to be able to have a greater access to all pedestrians, to have greater access to the historic courthouse, because that can strengthen economic development for both the city and the activities that go on Judicial Center campus. I do have a couple of questions that I would like to ask, since Lynn recognized me for a moment, and that is, we are still working with the county and George Mason University on the City Center West hotel concept. We are a long way from any definitive decision on that project. And I still would like for the county to at least consider an entrepreneurial relationship with the garage, the multi-level garage that already exists, that if in fact there were events at City Center West that occurred in the evenings or weekends, that the use of that facility might be something that could be coordinated with the pedestrian access from the garage to the back of that facility. That's the concept. I know that's been discussed a number of times with the county. And I would like to you made a statement that all parking on the hotel would occur on site, and that is true relative to patrons who are staying in the hotel. But with respect to the theater arts program, that might be a slightly different arrangement.
And we're open to that. We have told them that we are definitely open to that. We are showing an access into our garage from the hotel site for overflow type parking.
Right. The other concern and I'm taking off my mayor hat and putting on my regional historian hat for a moment, and the former president of the Fairfax County Historical Society, which is sort of on life support these days. But there was, in an earlier draft of the master plan, there was some discussion about some commercial activities in the courthouse relative to a food court or something along those lines. And I didn't know whether or not that concept is still something that's in play with this most current plan. Can you comment on that?
We have made some allowance for commercial retail type space in building 1 on the first level. It could be coffee shops, sandwich shop, that type of thing, and possibly remove them from the courthouse proper as it is right now. So to put some retail, but it just isn't all fleshed out, but we did include that concept in building 1. for the
Okay.
first level. And it may
And
be
I was-
something that could be accessed from the public side, but closed off from the courthouse side, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, obviously there's security issues.
Yes.
There's security issues on all the acreage on the site. So we understand that and certainly appreciate that. The other part was I do commend you for your the words you chose relative to the historic courthouse building, the roof, the repointing of the brick facade. There are, as we know, I mean, the very first portion of that building was constructed in 1799 to 1800, and is quite fragile, to be candid. And so I think that as we move forward, we ought to spend whatever is necessary to ensure, especially that portion of it, but the entire historic courthouse structure, to ensure that it's going to be in good hands for the next 50 years. I think all of us in historic programs wonder how the appreciation for a lot of our legacy structures, as well as other things, survive in terms of the appreciation for the next 2 generations. I think that will happen. I also have 2 young adult children who grew up in this area, and one is now in her early 30s, as your daughter is, and one is in his late 20s. And at this point in their lives, they're not too interested in the historical aspects of the area, although they are certainly have been immersed in it as they were raised here, especially by me. But as we become increasingly diverse, the kind of historic preservation and historic programs and interpretations are going to be very different in the next 50 years. So this is probably a once in a century opportunity to ensure the structural integrity of that historic courthouse area. And so I think making that a priority is very commendable. Those are my comments for now. I would like to be able to are those slides that you showed us, are they publicly available yet? You need to run that up the flagpole. And you can say that somebody requested it, but don't say the mayor asked to see it.
I do have some information on our webpage. There is a project webpage. I can send that link to Denise and she can share it with you. And some of the images are, but they haven't all been vetted yet. That's my only concern. So
well, I will do you a favor and not out you.
Okay.
Right. But I know that Brooke Harden is going to.
I was going to say Brooke and Paul have copies.
Okay. Then why don't we just let that be, and I'll talk with them.
Yeah, they can bootleg you copies.
I will not. It won't go any further than me.
Okay.
All right, but thank you for letting me ask you, make these comments and ask you these questions. But the entrepreneurial relationship between that parking facility and West is really very, very important to the city.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. This is Esther McCullough. What is the thought for the use of Building 3? You said that it hasn't been identified yet. What things are being considered? Is theatrical being considered?
We do not have any immediate use for that. We thought that could potentially be an excellent public-private partnership building to be developed. So that's all I can say on that at this point. If somebody wants to do something creative with it, we're open to that suggestion.
Thank you.
We certainly all need a museum in the county. So I know that's been brought up.
I'm hopeful that they'll turn the old courthouse eventually into a museum. That would be
This county might need a little bigger than that. I don't know.
maybe, but if all the other folks were out of there, you'd have a lot of space.
The former Bank of America building on the corner of Chainbridge Road and Main Street, it's on the market. It's a gorgeous structure on the inside. So an adaptive reuse that's a possibility, and the city would be willing to investigate that further with the county if anybody is interested.
I'm interested, but I don't have very deep pockets, David.
Well, I'm talking conceptually. We leave the numbers.
That's a great idea. How many square feet do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't want to get off point. We're really talking about the campus at this point.
It would be
Didn't I read
nice
that?
adjunct. All right,
Sorry.
who's that?
Oh, I had a question. Didn't I read that the museum that's now in the old jail, that is being relocated? It's in the basement?
There is the jail, the sheriff's office had a little jail museum in the old 1950s wing. That wing has suffered severe structural damage to the point we don't think it's safe for anybody to be in there. So unfortunately, their little museum got shut down, but eventually the plan is that museum, the sheriff's museum, would move to the historic jail. We think that would be a good location for that, and get the offices out of there and make that a museum.
Yeah, so we would have something on site there. Good.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is so interesting. Are there any more questions for Ellen? All right. I think we're done. Thank you, Ellen. This has been fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Ew.
Bob, I hear you now.
Welcome.
I hear Bob Beach. Bob, did you have a question? I don't hear him now.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting us. All right.
Really
Take
appreciate
care.
all this. Thank you so much.
Ann, can you hear me now?
Oh, wait, I got
Ann,
Bob.
can you hear me now?
I hear Bob.
Okay, I'm back on. Trying to figure out how to do this. I know there were a couple public hearing meetings, and I had information. I think Mary Lipsy and I both tried to attend, but neither one of us were able to successfully get in. Is there a way that we can find out more about the master plan and read up on it?
Yes, on the webpage for the Judicial Complex Master Plan webpage. I will send that link to Denise and she can send it to you and you can access materials there.
Thank you.
I was able to get to several of the meetings, Bob. And for about a year,
Me
I've been
too.
attending meetings there.
I went to a couple too.
Yeah.
They were a lot of fun.
It's a good process, even in on Zoom. Okay. Any more questions for Ellen? All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye. Oh, you're welcome to stay, of course. Okay, well, that was very interesting. Thanks, everybody. We're moving on. Before we get to the meat of this, let me throw in a few remarks. I've revised my own. I think it's on the website. I added the semi-quincentennial, that might not be saying that right, to be a report when it gets to committee reports. That'll be a new committee we can create. And we've got two people happy to serve on it, Gretchen and Mary so far, which is good. I wanted to be sure and say, before we got too carried away here, how much I enjoyed the history conference. Who here was not blown away by that amazing event on November 14th? You guys, honestly, you just knocked yourselves out. I watched every minute of it. My cat fell asleep, but I found it completely gripping. I just couldn't stand how much fun it was. I think Esther and Lynn need to go pro. Mary, you distinguished yourself. Those were very entertaining presentations. It's just, here we've got a year when so many things couldn't happen, so many things canceled and couldn't happen. And there you are, just the most fantastic event. So thank you. I've forwarded it to all of my various history contacts, because now that it's online and available, and they're like, oh wow, this is wonderful. So it opens a whole new avenue. You can do that too next year. So good job. Hear, hear, clap, clap.
Thank you.
That was really good.
There was a fabulous committee that made it happen.
Well, we look forward to the report too, because we know that there were a lot of interesting, no doubt, trials and tribulations, but luckily success was the star of the show. So you guys made it. Okay, I have a few things jotted down. Reminder when you're speaking as a History Commission member to, generally speaking, make sure if you're just talking for yourself, that you're talking for yourself. People often can assume that we're talking for the commission as a whole, and most of the time we're not. And so that's just something that we noticed this week. Another thing I noticed, or this month, was we probably had a little more reply all on emails than we strictly ought to. The attorneys don't want us to use reply all at all. In the past, the attorneys said we could have a 4-hour lag because that's a precise case, Beck versus Shelton, that where 4 hours was actually enough. It was found not to be a meeting. But our attorneys now are more conservative and have asked us. They're like, "Oh, where'd you get the 4 hours?" Well, it's in the law, in the case law. So, but the last time we had someone from the OCA come, they asked us to not pay attention to the simultaneity. They did not rate that as important. They thought it was more important to never do reply all. My favorite is one of their suggestions on the Virginia FOIA Council website. Denise, you'll love this. They have 4 recommendations, and one is use staff to send emails on behalf of members to ensure the exchange of emails will not be a simultaneous communication among 3 or more members. So anyway, so if you have any questions about it, none of us is an expert, but we could certainly ask the attorneys to come back and talk to us, and we can grill them.
No.
Look at Barbara. No. Okay, moving on. I have some very sad news to share. Paige Shelp has died.
Really? Oh.
I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I did not find an obituary. Carol told me. She was on this a member of our body from 2009 to 2017. Many of us knew her. Well, she was her biggest part of her career, which was really interesting. She did art history as one of her undergraduate degrees. But for 25 years, she was executive director of the McLean Community Center. So, she's had a real rough few years, but she was a real mover and shaker in the county. So, and a beloved part of our group. So that's, sorry to share that with you. Oh, while we're talking kudos, I'd like to say kudos to the Confederate Names Committee. I'll get that out of the way because Barbara has a report later. She won't let me get a word in edgewise. Barbara Nafe, do you remember this? She joined this group after a long career with the county. And Barbara, I'm going to put words in your mouth. She figured that she was retired. She'd worked really hard. So if she's going to join the History Commission, at least she'd try not to be chairman of anything. I don't know what happened, but we were lucky. We are grateful for the fact that she broke that resolution. She'll never do it again. She broke that resolution to become chair of the Confederate Names Committee. And I wish I had a recording of how excited you were about being the project manager for this, never realizing that you'd end up researching and writing as well as just trying to crack the whip on everybody. But so you've just done it all, and thank you for that. Good job. All right, I think I've got everything. Those are my main points. Thank you for putting up with that. Moving into the rest of the meeting, commissioners excused. Are we just missing Carol? She's not feeling all that great. She had a good tumble on some stairs and didn't think she would feel like listening in. I always have something about guest staff introductions in case Rachel or somebody comes, but I don't think we have anybody else that doesn't normally come. Do we, Denise? Are we all familiar? Are we all familiar faces?
There are just 2 members of the public here tonight, Anne.
Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know. Moving on to minutes. Winifred, it is over to you. Or maybe not. Are you there? We will entertain a motion to accept the minutes. I think you had some last, unmute yourself, Lynn.
It's okay. Yeah, I had submitted some corrections that did not quite make it into the minutes. So about 3 or 4 of them, and I've let Wynn know that. So I presume they'll get fixed. There's nothing all that significant, but
yeah, they were kind of minor, I think, right? So, I mean, you need to do them, but there weren't anything anybody would disagree with.
the only piece that I really want to do make sure is those videos that were shared at the conference are the Lucy Burns Museum's videos. They are not just Lucy Burn.
Oh, good point. Actually, yeah, that's a good catch.
Yeah.
So I suppose if you guys were comfortable with this, you could say, make a motion to accept the minutes as you read them with the small corrections. Or you could say
one more change.
Sue corrections.
Do I hear Sue?
One more change, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did email Winifred that when I was speaking very indistinctly, she said I worked for Murraygate Foster or something like that. So I really wanted her to change that bio part to say Murraygate Fawcett House in Alexandria. But I think we should just call it Murraygate. So it's a minor change, but I think she did get that, just did not fix it yet.
Okay. So we can either approve them with these minor corrections, or you could say that you would rather wait and see them again with the minor corrections. So however you guys want to handle it.
I would like.
Esther,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
she sent a revised copy this afternoon. Does that include those revisions?
No. Mm-mm.
And how about you, Sue? Did it catch yours?
No, I don't.
Can I say something, please? I got correction from Commissioner Abby Hirsch. It was kind of very difficult to read. I did my best when it was in proofreader's mark. I did my best to do what I could, and I sent them back. And I feel that if there was more correction, they should have sent it back to me. And then I got Commissioner Sherman 10 o'clock last night. I didn't even see it until late this afternoon.
Okay, no problem.
And then I made it and just forgot. I added one of the corrections, forgot to take the other one off. Well, I did send her a message that I've already made a correction, but it was too late to send it for the third time. So I would just appreciate when people get the meetings. I do my best to send it and to also call and make, back and forth so people get it. I make sure to send it in time. And I wish people could just, look at it and there any correction. But if I get it. If I don't see it until about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock today, it's just difficult to do anything. And I do my best to do what I saw.
Yeah, we know that, Winifred.
I apologize.
We know that, Win. And it's the holidays, and this is not the time to, I think, nitpick. The changes I had asked for were not all completely embedded, but this is going to happen from time to time. And please know, we really appreciate and respect your hard work. And I think there's nothing wrong with taking a month and a deep breath and say, hey, let's just take another peek. At least that's my perspective. Anybody else?
I agree. Winifred, nobody, we understand that it's always on us when we're late. I've done it myself any number of times, but it's a good reminder to all of us to look at these minutes when she always sends them a week ahead of time. So try to make yourself look at them. Even I used to I learned not to do this, but I did learn to just search for my name and then at least make sure that I hadn't said anything too bad.
You sent me a correction today, and I think I got yours in.
Okay. Barbara Peters.
Yeah, I would like to say, though, that if we do not approve the minutes and agree to pay Winifred for the minutes, this will delay her payment for last month's minutes.
We can always make a motion. We have two choices: to just do the pay the clerk,
correct,
or to do the minutes as per Sue and Lynn with these minor changes and approve them like that. So I'll defer to what you guys want to do.
This is Barbara Nape, and I'm making a motion that we approve the minutes from the November meeting with the corrections and pay the clerk.
I second
that.
Thank you.
I hear Jordan second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. And opposed? Abstentions. Okay, good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Winifred.
You're welcome.
Treasurer's report, Barbara Peters. Okay, we started the month of November with $78,073. We had interest income of $50. The expenses for the month were our donation to the Virginia Room, which was transferred on the 5th of November. Business cards for Lynn, and paying Winifred for the minutes from October 7th. So our ending balance on November 30th was $76,559.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions for Barbara?
The one thing I did not adjust was the conference account with the Park Authority, because I only had the one bill so far submitted. And so I thought I would wait until we had the entire conference costs paid and then do an accounting of the conference costs.
Barbara, can I jump in here for a second? That was the email I sent you today. I gave you a summary of all of the shipping costs and the office It came to $168 and some cents. So
When did you do that?
this afternoon. This afternoon, you should have copies of all the receipts.
Okay, I will look for it. I did not see it before I went off to cook dinner.
Well, okay, but it's there, and it's not that much. It's $168 some dollars that needs to come back to me.
Okay. Good. Thanks, you guys. Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you, Barbara Peters. Over to unfinished business. Maybe the last time unfinished business. We'll see. Barbara Naif, you are muted.
Not anymore. Well, thank you, Anne, for the comments. I will make one correction in that I wasn't excited, I was willing. And now I'm just exhausted. Tonight's meeting, I looked at the calendar. It marks the sixth monthly Historic Preservation, History Commission meeting in which the Confederate Names Inventory project has commanded our attention. It's a long time. Literally weeks ago, I stopped counting the number of times that I declared to you all as we sent something out, one segment or another, that it was final, because there were many finals, all right? We have, though, finally arrived at what I'm calling the grand finale, with the report cleared through the county attorney's office, the county executive's office, and it was posted, and as posted, has already been formatted to ADA standards. So I want to thank you once again to those of you, you know who you were, who were still working on the document up until 4:50 Sunday to meet the 5 o'clock deadline. I cannot say enough about everybody's commitment to this. Also, someone's said they hope people would, appreciate the work. And I wanted to assure you that we have not been hesitant at all in declaring our pride in our work product. Ann and I lauded the commission during a meeting that we requested and had with Supervisor Alcorn to give him a little heads up, since he's co-author of the board matter. He was very enthusiastic and interested. At the staff planning meeting for the formal December 8th presentation that Ann and I attended with Denise and Liz last week, we passed the same message on to Supervisor Smith. Chair of the Land Development Policy Committee will be chairing the December 8th meeting. And the responses to our intended audience at every level have been very positive. Now there's a counter I'd like to offer. When I wrote my remarks, that was prior to today. And the challenge now, I know that Jordan and Liz were copied on an email of someone in the local history community who's very distressed about particular events that were not included in the brief narrative on the Civil War in Fairfax County. So I finished the draft for Ann's signature, but not in enough time to get it done so that we can share with the commission to know what we're explaining. There also received today from a group that wants something taken out of the report. So in drafting responses for Ann on these, I made some points that to us, those of us that have been involved, it's obvious, but we need to, as people talk to us within either the local history communities that we're involved with or whatever. The report was assigned by the Board of Supervisors. It is a report to the Board of Supervisors. And as we have talked through all of this, I said we are the clerks. We were we were doing research to provide data. That's what we did. We were neutral. And the way we communicated anything about the history was through our narratives, so that the supervisors will have some context to understand the information we're providing as data. It was interesting because Supervisor Smith was asking questions. She commented, she said, I really am not up on all the history like you are. And we have to realize that. So I've attempted to point that out in the drafts today. I also said something we also know. I'm urging these people to please read. We don't sure anyone's going to go all through, except us, 536 pages, but to read the executive summary, to read the narratives, to read the recommendations, to read the explanations for things like family names. Throughout, the message that we have offered is that Fairfax County during the Civil War was a crossroads of war, and that both Union and Confederate feed into the story. And that's very important. And people, there was also, I will add while I have the floor, that people, because of a misstatement somewhere along the line, not from anybody in the History Commission, that the Commission was going to offer recommendations. There are groups that think that we were saying, all right, you need to get rid of this street name and that street name and this park name, and that's not what we did. And so we make it clear the recommendations that we have that you all know and you all approved are two. One is for the robust public process for whatever it is the Board of Supervisors decide, if anything, that they're going to do with this information. And the other one, which is so important to all of us, that Supervisor Alcorn was very enthused about, and that is that this research all goes to the Virginia room, yes, Chris, so that we have everything that we've done is there for a future time, all right? So I want to state also for the record that this report, all of the hard work done, it could not have been achieved without the guidance as well as the work of Denise. And it's amazing. And also the many hours of work that were done by Chris and by Liz. And I've known Liz for many, many years. I did not know she did the review, the first review from the perspective of a historic perspective, and it was amazing what all she found. So I thank you, Liz, too. And as my last action here, I expect I'll be drafting more answers for Anne in the next few days or so. But as my last action as chair, I would offer this motion. The History Commission, serving as a committee of the whole for the Confederate Names Inventory Project, endorses the final Confederate Names Inventory Report to be presented to the Board of Supervisors on December 8th, 2020. And I would hope for a second.
Second, Mary Lipsey.
Thank you. And I pass to you to see if there's discussion, questions, whatever. You're muted.
See a hand, Lynn.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think you might have had this embedded in your report, Barbara, similar to the Battle of Sangster Station. But, I just wanted to point out that Janae Lindner did catch that there needs to be an inclusion of Fairfax Station and Clara Barton. And
this is what I worked on all day, and this is what I said. That is what I have worked on all day on the draft response. And the reason that the Civil War in Fairfax County is not meant to be a full listing. It's an attempt to provide context. Thank you, Greg, for doing the first draft. A context of what happened in the county, and so not everything that everybody wants is going to be in it. So we were focusing on what they were asking for. They're looking for better to union. So we realized that those are also important. The other thing also that we sent out that you all, I hope, have is this a one-sheet outline that provides information. Ann and I will be using this when we make our presentation. And one of you asked, was about the numbers and so this outline simply tells you by magisterial district how many assets were in each district. Mount Vernon has none, but and the champion as far as how many they have is Sully district. No, Providence district with 44. The total is 157 assets out of what we started with was 26,552. All right. So, and as we all know, these include major streets, secondary streets, subdivisions, local streets, parks, public spaces. So that's what we're dealing with. So the outline, I think, is a very, very brief summary, but makes its point so that we could have something to talk about. And finally, those of you that have had a chance to see the executive summary, we have our History Commission 2021 initiative, developing our inventory of research materials for the African American communities in here. Because if you look at the entire process, the board matter started, it's, as someone has said, it deals with social justice. That's what the next steps are going to be. And we are on our initiative, this is what we are doing when we finish this, and we're going into that. So we thought this was, as I've mentioned to you all before, we have a momentary platform and we are telling the Board of Supervisors, this is what we are doing. And this time it's our assignment to ourselves. So,
yeah.
More questions or anything? Obviously, I still get really enthused about this, so.
So to be clear, Lynn, we're not changing the section on the Civil War in Fairfax County. We're simply responding to Janae and telling her that we, it's at this point, because you can write a book or several dozens on the history of the Civil War in Fairfax County, we just shortened it up.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I just didn't want her words to get lost somehow. And you guys, it sounds like you've already did a beautiful job of responding. So thank you.
She's drafted a really lovely letter, which I will put on letter. It's going to make me put it on letterhead, or maybe yeah.
I'll put it on letterhead. I ran out of time because here was this meeting. So I urged Ann to share it with all of you so that you know what we're all about, because many of us will be probably asked.
Yeah, and I haven't done that. I'll send that to you when it's final.
Once it's done.
When I'm liking this whole share file process, because look at all these materials that we have in one place and you can download them in one place, and including the outline, which is a really amazing one-page summary of a 500-page document. So that's just, if you just put that under your pillow at night, you'll really feel good. Okay, regarding the rest of this, I want to just share that I hate to do this because I know I want to share that that one of the organizations asked not to be mentioned in the acknowledgments, and that is, I don't know how we feel about that. The acknowledgments state that these organizations all help this project, and this group read the draft and said, no, we didn't. And so we'd like to be removed. We ask, in fact, we insist that we be removed from the report. So that is worth knowing about and being aware of in case you would like to do anything about it.
Well, I want to say something first before that. If you look at the acknowledgements, there's one whole segment that's acknowledgements. And the commission is listed, there's asterisk by the staff, and under this, there's a staff section. And it's one that says community research partner contacts, and the term is contact. And we thought, and what I'm explaining to this group is that because we were tasked to do this, we thought that it would be, the commission wanted to confirm that we were in our research efforts reaching out to all of the community to make sure that anyone who had something to contribute could do so. This group is reading it as though they are acknowledged for work, and they are not. They were listed simply because they were one of the many groups we contacted. And in fact, most of those people that we contacted did not respond. So my perspective and the way I wrote it is not to take it out, but to explain to them, which I've done, why it's listed that way. And also I quoted from, in the draft, I quoted from the report the fact that this false idea that recommendations are going to be to take out specific assets. And I quoted the assignment that we received in the revised scope. If you all will go look at it, we asked specifically, we understand that the recommendations are for a process and not for any specific action. And the response from the supervisor was, yes, you're correct. Right. And then I put in there what our recommendation is, which is for a robust public process. So in fact, because we have attempted to say that it's important that both sides of this story are told, that's why the little piece is in there about the Koreans and being so surprised that we tell both sides of the story in this country. That people should be pleased that we are reflecting. We simply provided all of this information and a context that says this place is, it has to tell the story of all sides. So that's why I feel very strongly, and if this individual representing this organization wants to be removed after that, okay. I also said in the draft that we would make sure, Ann and I, when we are presenting to the group on the 8th, to make sure that they understand why they're there is contact, and it does not imply that they did research or helped us. Now that to me is the fair way to go. At this point, since it's been approved all the way up through the county executive's office, I feel strongly that we should not add to or take from. So that's my perspective.
Barbara?
Yes?
This is Esther.
Yes.
Did they contribute at all?
They offered to that they'd be available for later on if we needed them. That was their statement at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't tap them.
But I mean, the crux of all this is you're not going to please
everybody.
Mm-hmm. Everybody in the local history community is wonderful and vibrant here, and all kinds of different perspectives. And many of those that are most distressed are those that are dealing with the military history of the Civil War. And we've also pointed that out. We discussed that at one of our meetings, the committee did, and we did with the commission as a whole. The fact that when you tell the story, and this came right from Mary when she spoke at the September 15th hearing, the stories are the Confederate, the Union, and the African American. The African American is the social part. We do very well with the Union and the Confederacy. We have not done well in terms of the context of the Civil War on the African Americans, which comes right back, makes full circle to our initiative. So
this has been sent to the legal side?
Yes, ma'am.
And
yes, the county attorney was challenged some statements we made with regards to the markers, simply saying that we felt that the new code, the new Virginia code, it did not, it includes local jurisdictions or what they are able to do with memorials and all, but markers are not included. But
is the legal team aware of this request to be removed?
No one is aware of it because we just got the email today, and it's a request to have it removed. To have their name excluded from the fact that we contacted them. All that list is that the Board of Supervisors, here are all the people we contacted in an effort to make sure our research is thorough. That's what the list is about.
Do you think it would resolve it if the heading of that section is called acknowledgements and contacts?
Probably. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak for this individual. But that would, 2 words. So, if this is an issue that prevents the commission from endorsing it, then we'll have to have an amendment or something for it.
Barbara, this is Mary. Does the person who wrote the letter represent the whole, or is it as an individual?
No, this individual is the president of this group.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So I would say leave it in because that's your original report to the board.
Right. Okay.
And if it's challenged, then it would just have to be dealt with.
Well, in our first effort, we were the draft is very diplomatic, it's very respectful, it's understanding, and it says this is why this is why we had such a group, and that we decided that it was important to identify those people that we contacted because this is supposed to be a community process. And so these are the people we contacted. It does not say that these people we worked with, it doesn't say it was reciprocal, it just says we contacted them.
Could a sentence under that heading help that says this is why this list exists?
Well, I think you might get that way with Tammy, if you could put in the words, an acknowledgement of, there's a sentence there about people that work with this, and we could add, and those we contacted. This goes back to Denise and whether this is feasible or not. I assume it is, but I don't know.
And saying that it's solely the work of the people that worked on it,
That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't, if I might, I don't think you should redact that portion. And I think that actually you could be criticized for not including it. I think it has to be on the record that we're included, that we reached out to the public in a very comprehensive way. This particular group, I read those comments, they are unhappy, obviously, with the whole project.
Right.
But I feel strongly that you should not remove that. And at this point, you've turned in the product. That is not a reason to start making revisions, I would argue.
Thank you, Jordan.
I call for the question.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Thank you, Esther. I'm sorry. This is a quickie. I am a member of the group, I believe, in question, and I do want to, as a form of informing, educating, not as any interest in trying to politicize this. The decisions that were made from this group's board do not reflect all the perspectives of this group's membership. And so I was a little surprised that this all has kind of morphed into something that I remain surprised at. So there'll be some fallout in lots of different ways, but sometimes the few do not speak for the many.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Shall we call the question, Barbara?
I believe someone already asked to call the question, so.
I know, that's why I said it.
So this is, again, I will repeat the verbiage. It is the History Commission serving as the committee of the whole for the Confederate Names Inventory Project, endorses the final Confederate Names Inventory Report to be presented to the Board of Supervisors on December 8th, 2020.
So all in favor, say aye.
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 And those opposed. I'm seeing something from Winifred. Can't hear you.
Who made it second?
Mary Lipsky.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we've done the ayes. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining?
I abstain.
What voice was that?
Bob.
We have an abstention and the rest is ayes. Did I miss anyone? I don't mean to. Okay, good. Thank you, everyone. The motion carries, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you all for all you've done, and just, it's been quite an experience. So we should be justly proud of what we've accomplished. And no one, probably not one of us, is totally satisfied with every word in it. But you know, writing by a committee is really a challenge. And so thank you all again. Very sincerely.
Thank you.
Okay, on we go.
Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome.
Yay, Barbara.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
A
Barbara.
camel is a horse designed by committee.
Yes. Yes. Okay, the other piece of old business, which we talked in great detail about, made a motion last time, is Jordan on the telecoms, the towers, cell towers and things.
And also, you might want to mention soapstone too. Do you want to bring that up, or?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so with respect to the
Telecom?
the telecoms, let's do that one first.
Yeah, it pretty much, in looking at the minutes, and we pretty much approved the language. It's fairly detailed. Winifred got it all right. Paragraph 2, sentence 2. We have the changes, the revisions in the minutes. So
we just need that to be rewritten and present and in conformance with that. I think that's the only follow-up. So
okay.
Who can do that? Because we've got the 2015, is it? The 2015 one that is being revised pursuant to these exact minutes. So it's not a hard project, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, since I made those revisions, I will put it together as a new,
okay.
The new direction, procedure, or whatever, and then bring it to the commission next meeting. Is that
perfect?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically at this point, it's just a question of proofing it practically.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, soapstone.
Soapstone. Was the letter circulated to the commission that you wrote in?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
But I'll check.
All right. So let me tell you what I did. First, thanks to Bob. Bob and I talked about it as the minutes reflected we would. By the way, you recall from the last meeting that not surprisingly, the FHWA came back and said that alternatives 1 and 2, which were the original alternatives at the beginning of this project, were the ones that they were going to go with, because all of the other alternatives, 5A, 6A, 6B, 5B, all of those were not, they had determined were not feasible or prudent in the situation. I was not surprised by this. I'm sure that other members of the commission would not have been surprised by this. And I also talked to John Burns, a friend and someone I used to work with to see, because the ARB sent their comments out, and those were circulated, I believe, by Denise. And they basically said, okay, and John's feeling all along in this case was that he wanted, even from the beginning of the review of the 4F, he didn't want to jeopardize the opportunity to get documentation of this resource, and was worried that that if we couldn't get, that if we fought this too hard, we might not be able to get HAB's drawings of the buildings, particularly the building that was going to be demolished. I understand that, and his feeling was, and he didn't want preservation to get a bad reputation in Reston, and felt that that might be harmful too. And my objective in speaking with both Bob and John was not being an engineer, just a lawyer. I wanted to see if there were any holes in the argument, in the research that they had done. And both of them said no, the research seemed to be good. But there was one party that was missing. And that party is a signatory to a memorandum of agreement, usually. And that probably is the most important voice beyond the FHWA in this case. And that would be the Virginia SHPO. I contacted Mark Homa. It was Thanksgiving week and he was out, but he did get back to me this Monday, and he apologized for not getting to me sooner. He was on vacation, but he said, unfortunately, this means they did not comment on, they missed the opportunity to comment on the 4F. However, he says, DHR's primary influence is in the Section 106 process anyway. And he asked if we had formally responded. I sent him a copy of our response. And in our response, since most of you haven't seen it, I essentially say that we are not going to give formal comments at this point, pending pending our review of the comments from the SHPO. As I told Mark, I didn't want to do anything because they early on determined this to be eligible. They went through the whole eligibility process with the keeper, and I didn't want to do anything to undercut their position if they felt that either of those other alternatives were feasible, or there was some reason to question the research that the FHWA had done. So that is what we say in our first paragraph, and then in the second, I direct them, I remind them of what's, they still have to go through under Section 106, which Mark properly mentioned, and they haven't made a determination of effect. It'll probably be adverse effect. They're going to demolish a building, but they also have to notify the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, give that body a chance to get involved. Obviously, if they become involved, I don't know that they would, but if they did, I would have to recuse myself, being a member of the council. And said that, in the event that they make that adverse effect finding, we look forward to being a consulting party, as we already are, but to consult on ways to minimize the adverse effect. So they still have to go through 106. They have completed 4F apparently, but that still remains. So this is not over. A third thing that they're going to have to do is finish their National Environmental Policy Act compliance, but that really, now the focus turns to Section 106 and ways in which to, and let's see where that takes us. I don't know what Mark's going to say, what the SHPO will say, but that will be very important. There were a couple of folks that misinterpreted one of my lines there. I was trying to make the point that the SHPO is a signatory, and some people thought that I was saying the commission is a signatory. We are not. I know we're not. We would be if we choose to do so, to request it. We might be an invited consulting party to sign a memo of agreement. That would be our status in this case. So, are there any questions on the current situation involving the soapstone connector? Okay.
Good.
I would like to make a comment, if I could, Anne and Jordan.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, our modest objective, at least mine was, to get recognition. And we really knew as we pursued this that that probably we wouldn't win the war, but we would make headway and win some battles along the way. And the fact that early on, when Jordan was talking to one of the county attorneys who was unaware of what the Section 106, what that even meant. And so the fact that we have achieved recognition and that there will be some mitigation, whether it's we hope that we'll get, like John Byrne says, the drawings and some markers. But I applaud Jordan, because without your expertise and your understanding the language of it all, we could not have gotten as far as we did. And I say bravo to everybody involved. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you.
It's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. This has been so important to follow. And without you, we might have just not been on top of it. Okay. So I will send you guys that letter for you to review. Now you've got the context for it. So thanks a lot, Jordan.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't have any new business, so we will move on into staff reports, starting with Elizabeth Crowell.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to keep my staff report relatively brief. As part of what we've been doing in the past month, obviously a lot of things that people have already said were things that we participated in. I'll reiterate what folks said, that the history conference was a great success. And, you know, the members of the Confederate Names Committee under Barbara's direction and leadership, and Denise's coordination, and with Chris's research, did great things. So those are all things that are, you know, I think that the History Commission can be proud of. Things I've been participating in, I attended a kickoff meeting for the River Farm Historic Overlay District, so I will be part of that. And I imagine Denise may be mentioning something like that as well. I'm working on a series of project teams, both county-wide and for Park Authority things, and I won't go into specifics on that. After the last meeting, I gave a tour of our James Lee Center archaeological collections to Stephanie Leadham, who is the new Planning and Development Division Director, and to Valerie Maslin, who is the project manager for the collections facility. And the funding for the collections facility was passed in the bond referendum, so that will be moving forward. Other things that we've been doing are we've presented a scope of work for more archaeology to be conducted at Mount Ayr, because there are a couple of derelict buildings on the site that have fallen into disrepair to the point that they're dangerous. And so in order to get in there with the appropriate equipment, there's going to have to be archaeology done on the areas that they actually will be doing ingress and egress. So that has been brought forward. Today I attended a Civil War Trails meeting. Mary Lipsey was also at that. We learned an important new term. This is the COVIDian era. Anne was there too, actually. So, which I
was supposed to be. I'm sorry, I had too much distracting stuff.
Yeah, but I thought the COVIDian era was an interesting set of terminology, but did do that. But the big thing that I have to talk about tonight, and this took us by surprise, is I got a phone call yesterday morning and Chris Sperling tendered his resignation. He has been offered and has accepted a job as Director of Historic Preservation for Calvert County in Maryland. And for anyone who might be familiar, he's taking a position that Kirsty Unilla had in Calvert County. She recently retired. And so Chris's last day with us will be December 18th. So I had other things that I had planned to do in the last couple of days, but we've been doing a lot of sort of, discussion about, what we need to do next and etc. So like I said, this is it is it's a big hit for us, but we'll, always the optimist. I'm looking for the opportunities out there that this might provide. So we will be moving forward with that. So if you do happen to speak to Chris, wish him well in his new endeavors. And that's probably enough for me.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions for Liz? Hearing none, we are over to Megan. Hi.
Hello. So for the museum collections, as Liz already said, I hosted Stephanie Leadham and Valerie Maislin from PDD to give a tour of Walney and the Fry collection storage areas, just to give more information towards the collections facility. I attended the Historic House Museum Consortium meeting on November 18th. And I created a week-long museum collections word puzzle game, which highlighted historical phrases and objects from collections, and it was posted daily on Facebook and Instagram from November 22nd through the 28th. In terms of operations and maintenance projects, the staff continues to work with DPMM on preparing the RFP process for Ash Grove, the Ash Grove kitchen stabilization projects. Staff is working with WJE on treatment plans for the outbuildings at Sully Historic Site, and a historic structure report and treatment plan for Mount Gilead is underway with the draft report under review. And then for volunteers, a landscape cleanup event was held on November 14th at Lanes Mill with 21 volunteers in attendance. The Young Men's Service League landscape cleanup event was held on November 21st at the Leibowitz House at Clemmy John Tree. And the next volunteer landscape cleanup event is scheduled for December 12th at the Margaret Banks House. So those are the HCV updates.
Great. Any questions for Megan? Well, I'm always amazed how everything keeps going, pandemic or not, all the work, nothing stops. It just, everybody gets busier, it seems. You guys have accomplished a lot. Thank you. Okay, over to Chris. I have a thank you to Chris. He opened our one piece of mail this week and emailed it to me. It was a cell tower or something in Fort Belvoir, so I sent it to Tammy.
For the record, I didn't open it. My supervisor opened it. I just did what my supervisor told me to do.
Sure you did. Sure you did. But we certainly appreciate it, and we have no secrets.
True. So I just have a brief report real quick. Thanks to a generous gift from the George Mason Friends, we've reached our goal of $28,580 for the 2 new digital film readers to be used by the public. And the process to purchase those has begun. So we're really excited about that. And thank you once again very much to the History Commission for your contribution. We're so excited to get these. Wow. 31 people attended the Zoom meeting of the African American Genealogy Study Group on November 16th. The speaker was Ahmed Johnson, a reference librarian and Black genealogy specialist at the Library of Congress.
Oh, wow.
And lastly, we received documentation from Westminster School a couple weeks ago on a mid-century 1950 passive solar house that's going to be demolished on property they will be developing. The house is located at 3801 Gallows Road. Not sure who the architect is, but it's a pretty neat house, but it's been long abandoned. And that's it. In closing, I just want to say it's been a tremendous pleasure to be of assistance to the History Commission this past year, especially with the Confederate Names Inventory, and staff is looking forward to next year's exciting projects to collaborate on with you all. So here's to 2021.
Amen. Thank you. Great. Good report yet again. Thank you. Over to Denise. If you're talking, we don't hear you.
It looks like Megan is now the host. Does that mean Denise?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't see Denise here, and somehow I'm the host, but I'm not aware of that.
Well, thanks for hosting, Megan. I see.
Oh, she's back. She's back, I think.
I saw her in the attendees, which is weird.
Oh my goodness.
How about everybody mute yourself and let's see what we see.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry. Oh dear. Wait, now I can't hear anybody. Oh my goodness. We all muted. Oh, you all muted.
We
That's
muted
right.
ourselves because we were getting all this screechy feedback.
That was my fault because I was trying to call in because my computer froze. And I know. And then it wouldn't let me back in. So I tried to call. I know. I apologize. And of course it's my turn, right?
Denise, the computer gave up because it's worked too hard these last 5+ months. It's just said enough.
That's so funny. Forgive me. Oh, look. Now I need to find my staff report. Okay.
If you need
Hi.
a minute, we can always go on and vote on our nominating committee while you're pulling it together.
I am ready. I do apologize. Sorry to be the holdup. That was
your
really
background.
easy. Thank you. I thought it was appropriate. Okay, so my reports. The Confederate Names Committee staff will be attending the Board of Supervisors Land Use Policy Committee meeting next Tuesday, December 8th, along with Commissioner Member Naif and Chairwoman Stuntz in support of the History Commission's Confederate Names Inventory Report. And thank you all for the positive feedback. I'm blown away at how much research was accomplished in such a little time and how well we pulled this all together. So bravo to everybody. The Civil War monuments at the Judicial Complex on November 5th, the memorial to John Quincy Marr, the 2 Dahlgren howitzers, and the VDHR marker were removed from the Judicial Complex per the board's October 20th decision. And as a reminder, the Marr Monument will be donated to the Stuart Mosby Historical Society, which runs the Stuart Mosby Museum in Centerville. The 2 Dahlgren howitzers will be donated to the Manassas National Battlefield Park, and the VDHR marker will be returned to the state. Washington's River Farm, Wellington proposed HOD. On October 20th, the board requested that staff research and analyze various options related to the preservation of River Farm, also known as Wellington, on the inventory of historic sites. Staff reported back to the board with their findings in a memo dated November 12th. On November 17th, the board directed staff to prepare a report that will analyze and provide recommendations on the historic, architectural, cultural, and archaeological significance as well as boundaries of a potential historic overlay district for the River Farm property. This expedited process will include drafting the proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan to accommodate the HOD and holding all public meetings as required. The anticipated timeline is for staff to report back to the Planning Commission for a public hearing in March and the Board of Supervisors in April of 2021. Laura Arsenault and Nicole Brannon will be working on this project. The Holland Hills, a potential HOD, the Holland Hills Work Group will hold its last meeting on December 7th. There will be a community-wide public meeting scheduled around the end of January with more details to come. And if you need more information, Laura Arsenault is completing that project and you can get in touch with me as well. The Homes Run Acres potential HOD, the next meeting for the Homes Run Acres Work Group will be on December 16th. Nicole Brannon is leading that project. And as a reminder, both HOD work groups have a web page with more detailed information about each process and links to the respective work group meetings if you'd like more information, or if you'd care to just join in one of those work group meetings just to see what it's all about. The Reston Survey, architectural survey, will be posted on the Reston Survey webpage for public review and comment. We're now looking toward an early January community meeting with the holidays coming up with the consultant to go over the survey results. And I am still leading that project. The Gum Springs Architectural Survey Preliminary Information Form and Cultural Resource Management document. Staff will be working with an advisory group made up of community stakeholders from Gum Springs to identify and collaborate with potential consultants to complete an architectural survey and oral histories in support of the completion of the state's preliminary information form for the community of Gum Springs. A PIF, a preliminary information form, is the first step in the state's process for a National Register eligibility. The information collected through this study can be used in support of a local inventory district nomination as well. In addition, the consultant will complete a management document for the identified cultural resources found in the study, and I am the lead on that project. The Pride of Fairfax National Register nomination, a consultant has been selected for completion of the National Register nomination for the Pride of Fairfax, formerly known as the Oddfellows Hall in Gum Springs community. Staff anticipates scheduling a project kickoff meeting with the community in the very near future. And again, I'm lead on that project. And the Fairfax County Semi-Quincentennial or 250th Work Group. On October 20th, the board moved to appoint a 7-person work group led by Gunston Hall, including representatives from Visit Fairfax, Mount Vernon Estates, National Museum of the U.S. Army, George Mason University, and the History Commission, the Human Rights Committee, along with county history, equity, and human rights staff to provide recommendations by July 2021 to the board on the preferred approach for organizing and leading county-related efforts for an inclusive observance of this celebration. And I will be acting as DPD representative for this group. And that is my staff report. Oh, I'm glad you all are still there. I wasn't sure.
That's funny. Yep, I'm here. Thank you. Are there questions for Denise? But a lot of dates of things that we could go to if we think about it. I
had a question on the historic overlay. Since I am a new guy, I don't really have a grasp of like how the History Commission can support that, or so I don't really know our role in that, if we have one. I mean, maybe we don't have one.
Right. I think typically in the past with the Holland Hills and the Holmes Run Acres HOD, there has been more community input because there's been a work group that has been seated to help with those forming those HODs. This one is expedited, and I believe, Tammy, you've already helped initially with the initial research. So thank you for that, for providing us with staff with that. But I do not believe that there will be a work group for this particular HOD. It's going to be very, very, very fast. Yeah. When there will probably be a community meeting at the end of February. And then, of course, there will be a public hearing with the Planning Commission and the public hearing for the Board of Supervisors. And if the History Commission so chooses, you can support the HOD in that public process.
So normally, how's it work? We sit on the work group, we attend and we do all that stuff. So it's just, that's the difference with this one.
Exactly. So with both of the other, yes, yeah. So the two other processes, I apologize. I don't know if I'm still with you or not.
I see you.
Okay, good. Something's going wrong with my internet tonight. I'm sorry about that. With both of the other two processes for the HODs that are ongoing, the History Commission we've reached out to the History Commission and asked for representatives on both of those work groups. And I believe Elise actually is on both work groups.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't think, I don't remember I don't think anybody else from Holland Hills from the History Commission is on that one, but I believe Mike Irwin was going to sit on the work group until he resigned. So for the Homes Rent Acres work group.
Oh, because that's in Providence, yeah.
Yes,
Right.
Gotcha.
So Sue, you could start attending.
I was just going to say that, yeah, and I'll talk to Mike.
Yeah.
And go look at
Yeah.
look at their
Yeah, I
website. Yeah.
I did. Thank you.
Yeah, good, thanks. Okay, good. Thank you,
Will do.
Denise. Any more questions for Denise? Okay, hearing none. Let's move on to committee reports. I don't suppose John anytime in the last few minutes. So as we remember, remember what the committee is. It's Carol, it's Bob, and it's Phyllis. And I did print out the slate, Bob and Phyllis, if you want me just to read it. So I will, unless you interrupt me. And then we can have a vote on this slate. Chair is Cheryl Repetti. Vice Chair is Lynn Garvey Hodge. Secretary is Steve Sherman. Treasurer is Barbara Peters. I thanked last time the nominating committee for their work. I thank the nominees, and we will vote on this slate now. Would you like to how's it work? Do you make a motion? I forget.
I move acceptance of the slate of nominees for the 2021 History Commission officers.
Second motion.
Okay, I have a comment I'd like to add, that this is a new wrinkle since last month, and I just want to make sure everybody's aware of this. I'm delighted to support you all and support Cheryl. I'm so delighted that she's taken the initiative and willingness to come on as chair, and you're a tough act to follow, Anne. Many of you may also know that I have embarked on a really rigorous, regimented academic study to become a interfaith celebrant for funerals and weddings. My next semester class is on Wednesday night. It begins at 9 o'clock, so I can count on being with you for certainly 2 hours and maybe periodically be a bit late to class. But I cannot in good faith accept this nomination without you knowing that and accepting that reality. So I want to put that out there for you all.
Thank you. That will
That means, well, that means we're going to have really efficient meetings under Cheryl, so we're finished so that you can move to your next obligation.
I like that idea, Barbara.
Okay. All right. Any other, thank you, Lynn. We'll go into this with our eyes wide open. We appreciate hearing that. Anything else? Anyone? All right. Let's call the question. All in favor of this slate of officers, please say yeah. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Gretchen, I see you. There you go. Gretchen was happy, I think, or was it excited or willing to take the reins of the new semi-quincentennial? Is that it? Is this going to start to roll off the tongue like sesquicentennial finally did?
Yeah, it only took 7 years to be able to say sesquicentennial like that. Got it. It'll be good.
Okay. Would you say anything?
Yes. Before I launch into it, I just as a small segue from elections, yay to our new group coming in. Yay.
Yes.
And many thanks to our outgoing group of Anne, Jordan. Thank you so much, Steve. Steve, you've been there for a long time too. So thanks for all the hard work. And Barbara Peters, thank you for staying on. We definitely appreciate that. Yeah, so I attended my first state commission meeting, and it was kind of the inaugural kickoff. And so it was a lot of revisiting past commemorations in Virginia, of which there are many. And then we looked at some survey data. And then the next meeting is December 4th. And I'm very happy these meetings are remote and I don't have to drive back and forth to Richmond. But the next one is to help draft a work plan and try to figure out what we want this commemoration to be. And just like Denise said, there's a very strong emphasis on diversity and equity and making this a commemoration for everyone and to talk about all the stories, all of our inclusive history. So that really is a strong thread that's tying together everyone's ideas for the commemoration. So then at that commemoration meeting, I learned that Fairfax County, there was a board matter that there's a work group started for Fairfax County. So I'm happy to represent on that as well and bring that information back to you all. And then I think we need a committee of at least 4 moving forward. And we don't have to do this right away because there's not going to be a whole lot to do. But moving forward, we'll have to have a small team just like we have for sesquicentennial and War of 1812 and World War I, World War II, the whole thing. So
Jamestown.
Yeah. So just to remind everyone, the commemoration is in 2026. And the thought right now is that the commemoration is for the year 2026. That's it.
That's good news.
Oh yeah, that's like the first question I always ask, like, how many years are we doing this, right? So just keep that in mind. So yeah, I'm happy to serve on that, and I look forward to sharing all the information with you.
Good. Thank you, Gretchen. So if people are interested, they should you to say, I want to do it too. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Elise, over to you.
Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Because I've been having camera issues. The first report is for the inventory committee, and the inventory committee met on November 10th, and we made a series of decisions. The first is to continue including family cemeteries in the inventory, that nominations can include, quote, extraneous material, that all facts must be accurate, that there is adequate notice of this requirement on the website, that we can and should require that the source materials be attached, links are acceptable, So from now on, the file for each inventory site will include a thorough nomination and the source materials. So we will be leaving a good record behind. And the last thing is we have 3 pending nominations, and we are going to be asking the nominators to provide their source materials. And that was the inventory committee's work. The budget request is just about ready to go in and signed off on the cover letter. That'll go out tomorrow. And because I finally did the budget request, I can finally knock off the annual report, which I expect to get done by the end of the week and send you a draft to look at. I would like to say that we're no longer going to be bound by the old schedule of presenting it to the Board of Supervisors in June. So there's no reason not to start on next year's annual report and say like February or March. So, and Lynn, I will be happy to continue the job and take that burden from you.
Nice, thank you.
Woo! Hallelujah.
But please, start thinking. When you look at I'll be sending you your copy of the new current one, and as you look at it, think about what you want to say about yourself for the year that we're just about to complete.
Right, that's a good idea before we forget.
Yeah, before we forget, and so if we don't let things drag on too long. Because I was still receiving things as of yesterday.
What's the goal for the annual report going forward?
What do you mean, Esther?
The date. You said it does not have to be presented in June. What's the goal for presenting?
The goal would be to perhaps send it to the Board of Supervisors maybe in May, to forward it to them via email. And Chairman McKay expressed interest in having a meeting with us and to discuss the annual report and I think other issues that are of concern to us. That hasn't happened yet for obvious, being in the COVIDian era, that has not yet happened. But I'm assuming he's going to want to do the same thing next year. So that's the goal, is to get it knocked off so we can email it to them, give it to the Virginia room, and if he wants to see it, if they want to see us about it, we'll do that. But otherwise, we have a record.
Thank you.
Okay, that's everything for me tonight.
All right. Well, until we get to your next.
Oh, until ARB. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Elise. Mary on markers.
Good evening. I want to first welcome a new committee member, Phyllis Walker-Ford. Has said that she would like to work with us for the marker committee, so we are welcoming her aboard. Phyllis and I have been working on a rewrite for the Carrollton marker, and presenting information and finding it has been a challenge, of course, during this pandemic time, but we do believe we are ready to share it with the committee. So I am scheduling a virtual meeting for January 13th, Wednesday, January 13th at 7 p.m. And Denise, I'll fill out that information and get it to you when you send us the form. At that time, we'll look at the text, the new text for the Carrollton marker, and I will have the documentation and the text out to the committee prior to that. My goal is to send you a hard copy via the United States Postal Service so that you'll have it in plenty of time and be able to look at it ahead of time and share any comments that you may have. The James Lee agreement, I'm still waiting to get that agreement that has been prepared and ready for signature and payment. As soon as that is completed, that marker will be ordered. And last month, I introduced to you a document on the Civil War trails markers in the county and asked if you have any questions as we look forward to responding to the Executive Director, Drew Gruber, about the possibility of sponsorship of any of the markers that are on park land, etc. I asked each one of you if you had any questions. Both Ann Stuntz and Elise gave me some comments and ideas. if you have anything that you would like to know, if the History Commission were engaged in sponsoring a Civil War marker, it would mean a commitment of $200 a year. And with that, we would get, of course, maintenance if the marker were damaged or the plexiglass needed to be replaced, or if there was a time that the text of the marker we decided need to be rewritten or revised, that would be taken care of. And marketing be included in a map and information on their website about the trail marker. So I would like you to please, in the next couple weeks, to give me any questions you think that the county attorney or anybody in the county would need to help us respond to if we considered trying to financially sponsor a Civil War Trail marker. And I believe that's it. Are there any questions?
Okay, good. Thank you. Nice to know when all these committees are in such good hands. Thank you very much. Esther, Ethnic and Oral History.
Thank you. The Ethnic and Oral History Committee met on November 19th. We had a ongoing discussion about the content of the interviews and persons to be interviewed, even considering a long-term project, but no decisions were made. We are still researching. And contact with Channel 16, Pam Gardner, has not occurred yet. That's really the holdup, because we feel that the project should be recorded, and we are waiting for that contact. Of course, they were busy doing the history conference, so we'll just wait a little longer. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Esther. Over to Bob. We don't hear you.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
You do?
Yes.
Quite interesting. All right. I'm good. All right. Well, I'll go forward. It's a brief one. Resident Curator Program. Upcoming projects at Hanapi, Clark, and Yeti properties include installing sister joists in the ceiling and to strengthen the floor supports. The RCP draft leases for the service source at Elmore Farmhouse are under internal review, with staff working towards the Board of Supervisors public hearing scheduled for February of 2021. Upon Board of Supervisors approval of the lease, Service Source will submit a special exception application for its proposed nonprofit use of the site. Full RCP lease commencement will be contingent on the SE approval. The curator at Turner Farmhouse continues with improvements to the farmhouse interior and has submitted a special exception application. The curator at the Stemson House continues with deck repairs and master bedroom renovation. Staff continues to work with park operations to install utilities at the Barrett House. Electricity install and connection is currently underway. That is what is active in the Resident Curator Program. And I'm assuming that in 2021 we'll pick up some of these other units that we're considering to move into the program. We'll get back on course. We shall see. But that's where we stand. That's the end of my report. But I have a question for Denise while I have the floor. Since Mike Irwin left, was he working on the Holland Hills nomination?
Not Holland Hills. I believe he was going to sit on the Holmes Run Acres HOD.
Okay. Holland Hills is all taken care of?
Yes, I believe so, Bob. They're having their last meeting next week.
Great. Okay, cool. Thank you for telling me. Thanks.
Sure.
Into my report and into my questions for the moment, at least, anyway. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Are there any questions on resident curator? Okay, thanks a lot. Over to Ann Barnes.
Hi, Ann.
Ann.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Great. The Bylaws Committee met on November 23rd at 7:30. Attending committee members were Elise Murray, Carol Hedrick, and Ann Barnes. The committee made a. Elise, are you still there? I can't see you because
Yes, I'm there, and I'll turn on my camera.
Okay.
Yes, here.
Thank you. All right, and Carol, we discussed the matters that were at issue at the time, and a motion was made by committee member Murray, and the other issues that we discussed were electronic meetings, the practice of giving members notice of proposed amendments to the bylaws, eliminating the office of the recording secretary, and I believe that was it. We turned some information into the Attorney General's office to ask that person to review our bylaws to ensure that the information that we were proposing to edit was in keeping with what was required for that the template itself.
Okay.
And we'll have another meeting probably around after we get some comments back from the Attorney General's office for sure, but around February timeframe.
Great. Are there any questions for Ann? I thought that was a good idea to hit the attorney, the office of the attorney, this as a next step. They, with those model bylaws and things that they gave us, who knows what they really want. So that was inspired, you guys.
And I'm sorry not to have attended. It's just been a swamped month. So thank you for understanding.
It is. End of November everything gets particularly crazy. Thank you, Ann.
Okay.
All right, now over to Lynn to cover History Conference and awards.
Okay, just again want to give out accolades to all the folks that made this conference happen, and a lot of last minute details that really I think I need to say a big thank you to. Esther did a phenomenal job emceeing in the afternoon, and yes, there are stories aplenty about everything that went on behind the scenes. Some were very funny, some were annoying as hell, some of them were just what life is. So anyhow, but Esther has been really a wonderful support in this, and in fact yesterday we had a long debrief conversation because I need to get back to Channel 16, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's see, Greg was a wonderful last minute guy who not only delivered the welcome to the history conference signs to Channel 16, but also he and Mike Irwin attempted to kind of man the email and the conference links in case people wanted to chime in and ask questions, which apparently was not really taken advantage of. I do not have numbers on how many folks watched the conference. That's something I really wish we did have. I can tell you that the conference was probably seen in a wider audience than it has ever been seen before, thanks to the Delta Sigma Theta ladies and the AKA ladies, who have a sisterhood that spans sea to shining sea. And so I do know we had attendees from California, from Dallas, from New Orleans, from North Carolina, from New Jersey, and I want to say New York too. Anyway, so that was pretty exciting, which I think is a good segue into, so how do we do this next? And I don't want to say too much about this until we do a full lessons learned meeting with the conference committee meeting. I will say in terms of expenditures, I'm sure this will be music to your ears, Elise. This was probably the least costly conference we've ever put on, except if you added in all the people hours, it would have cost a fortune. So anyway, it was something though to learn from. And I really think, as with corporate training anymore, online e-learning is going to be the new norm. Zoom is going to be, and as we're doing tonight, the new norm. It saves, commuting time, it saves overall time. So we'll be certainly talking about doing this again. And I spoke to Potts Balsamo today, who runs the Channel 16 production team over there. He's a good guy. Steve Sherman, I don't know if you're here with us or not, but Steve and I and Suzanne Levy, Patrick Lennon, Potts, Pam Gardner, Valerie Bay, some other folks too, were the ones that coordinated all the 275th videos. And I got to know Potts really well at under that umbrella some years ago. What was amazing is, and Esther and I talked about this yesterday, was it seemed like, oh my gosh, what if we went back to Channel 16? What would it cost us to just like be a client person? And so when I went to sleep last night, I was fretting over this. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be like $5,000 or something. And so that was kind of where Potts and I launched today. And you'll love these 4 words. They don't charge for services.
Wow.
So if we did it again, they would not charge us. However, they said it would be so much easier if you did it at Sherwood. So anyway, the conference committee's got a lot to talk about, but that was very helpful. Let's see, there were some just short, quick learnings. Anybody that ended up remoting in, you may or may not have seen Jerry Connolly's opening comments, which were not Jerry Connolly at all. I mean, I really think somebody hollering for the dog and the parrot at the same time in the background was a little over the top, but it did give it a sense of being at home. So that was kind of nice. Jeff McKay was phenomenal. And all the folks that had to remote in, this was a part that was pretty tricky. And Mary, my hat's off to you for really making your PowerPoints work, because you had some great PowerPoints for the conference. There was a tech check for all the folks a couple of days ahead of time. All of the speakers were phenomenal, just fantastic. You've already seen what the lineup is, so I won't review that. There are some areas that Esther and I realize need to be fine-tuned behind the scenes if we do this again. Not many of you can imagine sitting and trying to present with a little earbud in your ear with somebody telling you what to do, unless you saw the movie Wall Street News, which was apparently the only way that guy did that. And so my one little tiny funny story I will share with you. So there I am sitting talking with Paul Gilbert. And of course, he needs to scoot out to the construction site, right? And so he thinks he's going to be talking for about 10, 15 minutes, introduce Pat, introduce Bob Beach, and we're going to be ready to run with the show after that. So Paul is doing his thing, and I get this little voice in my ear that says, after I've asked Paul a question, "Oh, these questions are beautiful. Keep it up. You have another 45 minutes. Apparently my body language did not reflect what was going on in my head, thank goodness. So I tried to wing that, and the reality was Paul was never supposed to be there that long. So we did end a little bit early for a break, but I know Esther had some of her challenges too, with voices speaking in her ear that weren't diabolical. but it was really kind of a fun, at the end of the day, it was a fun opportunity. Esther, have I left anything out that we need to really talk about right now? I can't think of anything other than my little budget piece.
I don't think you've left out anything. We got really good comments and feedback from folks.
Yes.
They really enjoyed the conference. And these were people that I knew that had never attended.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what our regular audience said. You know, there's no way to know who commented what.
Right. Yeah. So, that kind of information would have been so helpful. And we had questions kind of all laid out there too for people to respond to. But Esther, you did a fantastic job too in the afternoon. Very polished.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed working on it and representing the commission. You've done a fantastic job over all these years, and it really came off good for the first virtual. And those were some of the comments that I got to be the first one. It really came off smooth.
Yeah, overall, I was pleased. The one comment I've now heard numerous times is this should be Fairfax County Public School viewed for history students. So, Mary Lipsy, that would be
curriculum
to your ears for in the history curriculum. Absolutely. Back to the budget matter, Barbara, the email I sent you was sent at 5:02. So I've been gathering it all day long and finally had a chance to summarize it. But office supplies and printing, award shipping, presenter gifts and shipping, awards and presenter shipping. Everything went out kind of at different times, all amounted to $168.52. So do know that we have acknowledgement of that. And then the awards plaques purchase came in at $209. So Barbara, if you and I want to talk offline about how to kind of combine that and how we should put it together as a merged document for next month, I'm happy to do that with you if you think that would be helpful. Okay. Toddy Carnes was given the $300 Mayo Stunts Award, and I do have a lovely note from her. She watched the conference. She was very impressed, and she has donated her award, her $300 award, to the Huntley Meadows. It's the Friends of Huntley.
Oh, great.
What is it? Huntley.
Friends of Huntley.
Friends of
Historic Huntley. Friends of
Historic. Thank you. Of course. Friends of Historic Country. Yeah. So that's where that money went. And so that really kind of takes care of the awards. Greg, again, did a personal delivery to Heather and to Christina Krompaski. And thank you, Greg, for taking the time to do that. I did ask Carol Herrick if the folks in her district would want either her or I to eventually come to a meeting and present. And she said, no, go ahead and ship on out. So everybody should have everything except Esther now still needs a copy of Mary's book, and that is in my car. So,
and we have to thank Mary.
Absolutely.
For her donation.
Yeah, that book is, I have a copy right here. You all remember this book. It
very
is
generous.
Forgotten, and Women, yesterday's headline, was perfect gift for the folks that presented. And I did find out that Jerry Connolly can accept a gift like that. He's allowed to accept a gift up to $50. So a lot of good things happened along the way. So anyway, it's all good. And I think that's it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lynn, and your committee. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Mary, over to you, cemetery preservation.
I'm going to be very quick. Our small group, the Fairfax County Cemetery Preservation Association, is still waiting for the county to review a MOU so that we can support the Cemetery Preservation Committee for the History Commission. But our little group is still working. We've had some interesting things happening at cemeteries. The Marshall Cemetery in Burke had some illegal dumping. So we're working on that. Had 2 Eagle Scout projects at cemetery, socially distanced and wearing masks. We were at the Gooding Seton Cemetery on Little River Turnpike across from Nova Community College. That makes our 5th Eagle Scout project since 2008 at the Gooding Seton Cemetery. We were also at the William B. Day out in Vienna, and that is a 3rd project, not all Eagle Scouts, but the 3rd project that has been done at that cemetery. Our little group has adopted the Sons and Daughters Cemetery on Woodburn Road, and we're going to be making plans in December. We go twice a year to pick up leaves and branches, etc., for the Sons and Daughters Cemetery there. And I've started a new course, and I call it Cemetery Preservation 101. I have done this now twice for 2 DAR chapters at cemeteries on what to look at as you're trying to preserve cemeteries, demonstrate cleaning markers, what you can learn from markers. And Barbara Nave, I'm going to be at your group with the Freedom Hill DAR chapter next spring. And Winifred, I'll tell you that I will get my reports to you tomorrow, all written up for you, so if you have any questions about this. And that's it, unless people have questions.
Any questions for Mary?
Thanks again, Mary, for all your good work, both as a committee member and a presenter. You're a lot of fun to work with. Thank you.
That was a very good couple of programs. All right, Carol, in Carol's absence, she hasn't had a meeting of the advocacy committee, so that's no report. Over to Elise for ARB liaison.
Okay, this is the report for the November 12th, 2020 ARB meeting. There were no consent items. Action items. The first 3 action items concern W13 and W15 located at 9514 and 9517 Workhouse Way within the Workhouse section of the Laurel Hill Adaptive Reuse Area in the Mount Vernon District. The applicant proposed to perform repairs and co-compliance upgrades to both buildings, as well as providing hardscape and landscape elements between the 2 buildings. The board approved the proposal for modifications to the buildings. Exterior modifications would include in-kind repairs, door replacement, and addition of exterior lighting. The applicant was asked to withdraw their application for the next 2 items, consider the board's concerns, work with our landscape architect, and return at a later date. And those were for the proposed site modifications for a new plaza between the buildings and proposed streetscape improvements along Ox Road. The last action item, we also asked the applicant to withdraw their application, consider the board's concerns, and return at a later date. This was a proposal for new construction at the Langley Ordinary, located at 1101 Chambridge Road, McLean. It is located in the Langley Fork Historic Overlay District. The applicant proposed to construct a 1-story addition on the southeast elevation to create a dining room and a living room. There were no workshops. There were no presentations. EHT Traceries continues to make progress on the overall Historic Overlay District guidelines, sample-specific district guidelines for Bull Run Soon Bridge, and guidelines for the potential Holland Hills Historic Overlay District. And that is my report. And Winifred, I'll send it to you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Elise? Over to Cheryl.
Sorry. Thanks to Elise for noting that there were some omissions in the minutes that are online with regard to some treasurer's reports that were not properly attached. So we are working with Steve and Elise, and we'll be correcting the previous ones. And going forward, we'll make sure that all of the appropriate material goes into those minutes that are posted online.
That was a good get, Elise, because we did, when did we vote? Some while back to attach the treasurer's report to the minutes.
The first minutes online are I believe the July 2019 minutes.
Okay, so it was probably about then.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. I think all our groups should do that. Because they always get separated. Okay, thank you, Cheryl. Thanks, Elise.
I have a question for Cheryl. It's Mary Lipsy. We have talked about making one revision to the driving trail. It's a matter of changing the question. How do I do that with you? This is in the Civil War Sesquicentennial section. There's a Civil War driving trail that we made, and there are questions. And we would change one question.
Okay, if there's a change in a document that is linked on the website, you need to submit the changed document to me. Nobody can change a document that's on a website. We have to reload the document. So send the corrected, find the original document, make the corrections, and then resend it to me. If you don't have the original, then I might be able to work with a PDF editor and make the changes in the.
Okay.
But
I'll do some searching. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Mary, I have the original.
Oh, you have the original. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Well, you know the question that I'm talking about, and I'll send it to you, Gretchen.
Yeah.
And we can send it to Cheryl. It's just one question.
We'll edit and send it to you. Yeah. Thanks, Cheryl.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Good resolution. Thank you. Okay, David, do you have a report on Fairfax City?
I don't have any further report except to give you a verbal update on a small portion of the Confederate names report that went to the board. The city of Fairfax, as you may know, is establishing a 15-member group that will look at the whole issue of social equity and justice in the city of Fairfax. And our starting point is not street names, place names, monuments. Our starting point is to try to develop a shared understanding of our history. And this will be accomplished through a series of presentations and discussions, community discussions facilitated by the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Center for Conflict Resolution at George Mason University. And the 15-member board that's going to be, or commission that's going to be conducting this effort will include representatives from a community association called Mosby Woods, which is 530 homes in the city. The entire neighborhood was constructed in 1963 during the centennial and is completely Civil War motif. Everything, every street and the whole neighborhood. And there's another group within that in that neighborhood called Neighbors for Change, and then there's the Mosby Woods Homeowners Association. So they're each going to pick a representative. Plus our Historic Fairfax City, Inc. is going to have a representative, and then 12 members of the community. And what will happen is we've sent a mailer to every residence in the city, all 9,700 residences, telling every resident owners or families there about this initiative, why we're doing it, and how they can participate. And we've also set up a website. We've invited people to apply, and the deadline is December 15. They will their application will be reviewed. We'll interview citizens, and a group of staff people plus 2 members of the city council will make the final selections. Then through a series of facilitated community meetings over maybe a 3-month period, we will really drill down into that shared history and try to facilitate discussions that will help everyone understand where they're coming from. Those who may be new to our city, may be new to the United States, versus those who may have descended from families who were part of the Confederacy or part of the Union experience. And then, based upon that shared understanding, then take a look at how the city's nomenclature, street names, monuments, the city seal, for example, and how we might consider making changes. And that's for the group to go into in more detail in a facilitated way with the center at Mason, and bring forward to the city council sometime in 2021 recommendations for the council to consider. And there are clearly at least 4 street names in the city that even the people who live on those streets have said, we really would like to have those names changed. Then there's another set, which is much more difficult. But beyond street names, beyond memorials and neighborhood names and a city seal, we're also going to have a conversation about what does the issue of social justice and equity and racism, what do those issues, how do those issues play out in the context of our city's priorities in terms of our allocation of public resources? So how are these issues, how could these issues be addressed in our budget, for example? And are there things that we can make changes to certain resource allocations to address the needs of those in our community who are not of the same socioeconomic status as most everyone else? And I think those issues, in terms of looking at a lens of the next 30 to 40 years for our city and our region, are really the key issues. And it's not just, it is partially African American, but it's also other groups that are in our community who may not be experiencing the same fruits of our economic vitality. And what can we do specifically to make adjustments in our community priorities in terms of spending and programs? So that's a tall order. We may not be able to accomplish everything that we would like to, but it is one of our primary drivers in all of this is that if our starting point was, let's talk about changing street names and changing removing monuments, we will never really get to the core issue, which is far more fundamental about the issues of racism, systemic racism, and economic inequalities and social equity. So that maybe is a little more than you may have anticipated, but that's December 15th is a big milestone date, and we are looking forward to some significant activities during the months of January and February. And we hope that by the middle of calendar year 21, we will have some substantive actions to consider.
I think that sounds amazing. I'm very glad that you talked about it, because when we were working on the Confederate names report, we certainly looked at in fact, everybody go look at, what's it called, David? When they're looking at your website.
Connecting the city for the future.
Connecting the city for the future. And there's several different pages about it. One we don't want unless you live in Fairfax City, because it's if you want to be on on the stakeholders group, but it's very thoughtful. Yeah, thank you for telling us more. Are there any questions for David? All right, well, keep us telling us how it's going, because you know that our county, with a few more people than your city, has got to embark on its own process. I presume that they will, now that they've received our report, they will make some decisions for future action, and that's why we were happy to put information about what you guys are doing in there, because that they can take inspiration from you.
Well, and I really appreciate my colleagues on the commission welcoming me this year. I have found that these discussions and your programs have been very helpful, not knowing that we would be entering into this very difficult national and regional and local conversations about some core issues. And so I have found that all of you have been very helpful to me in helping frame some of this in my own leadership challenges in the city. And I did spend my first 29 years of my life in the county of Fairfax, and one of the best parts of the county of Fairfax in the town of Vienna. But but you know, and the years that I was there, I have my own personal experiences with civil rights locally and the integration of our schools, et cetera. So there's a lot of personal issues that I bring to the table with this initiative, but I truly want us to be focused on the next 40 to 50 years and not so much about where we have come from, except as it helps to inform us.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. That's really very, very helpful. Really good perspective. So it's working both ways. We're hopefully inspiring you, and you're inspiring us.
It's good to have you here, Dave.
All right. It's wonderful to have you there. Who knew? I was dead set against it. Okay. All right. Well, so we are almost done. I'm sorry to have my last meeting be another one of these endless meetings. I'm sure Cheryl will fix it. She'll be a lot more tough on you guys and keep you short worded. So if there are some announcements, we can handle a few. I see Lynn. Yep, you got an announcement, and Greg will come after Lynn.
Just kind of a double announcement. First of all, I am sad to have lost Paige. She was a really sweet supporter, and I love everything that she did over there working with Carol. I'm wondering if we could put our thinking caps on and not have a discussion now, but be thinking about what the commission might be able to do to honor her years with us. And some of us maybe can reflect on what past protocol has been. At least maybe you could help me with that a little bit. I don't know, but it feels like we should do something. It was my first thing. And my second thing, and I have to tell you, you have weathered time, troubles. You've made some good trouble. You have brought us through some challenging waters. You have always maintained a positive flair and dignity and honor for taking on the post that you have. And I just want to share with you my heartfelt thanks and gratitude for who you are and what you've done.
Thank you. This is an amazing group. I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed it. I'm just everybody I know is just tired of me saying, well, the History Commission does it this way, or you should see the healthy work that the committee system does for the History Commission, because this is a remarkable group. And and it just came out even more so this year. We have a pandemic and we miss one meeting the whole year, right? And then we have this enormous, daunting, somewhat mildly dreadful project that we're assigned to do, which everybody we know is saying, well, you guys shouldn't do that. You should recuse yourself. I'll quit. And And we didn't do that. We just did the project as asked by the people who come to us for help. So, I mean, pats on the back for everybody. I mean, what a tough, particularly tough year this year, and how beautifully and gracefully everyone has sailed through. We've only got a few more weeks of this year, and it will be over. So anyway, I appreciate working with all of you, and I hope I don't crawl into a hole when I'm done, just to get some sleep. But maybe for a month or two. Okay, over to Greg.
Well, Ann, thanks. First, I will second everything Lynn just said. You've been a great chairman, and wish you well in your the next chapter of your life on the commission. Many of you know this is my term is up as a commissioner, and this is my last meeting as a commissioner with you. So I just wanted to thank everybody. It's been a pleasure working with you and getting to know everyone who I didn't know before. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience, but I'm coming out of retirement to go back to work for my old firm, McKinsey & Company, on what is turning out to be a more than part-time basis. Let me just put it that way. So I just wanted to thank everybody once again. I will continue my interest in history and Fairfax County history in particular. I'll be with you in spirit and in person from time to time at the conference next year and other events. And just wanted to wish everybody a very happy and blessed and safe holiday season coming up. So thank you.
Thank you, Greg. For even starting, we have it tabled, and that is the strategic plan. So we might call you back as a consultant on that once we clear the tables again. So thank you for pushing like you did, and if it weren't for the COVIDian time, we probably would have accomplished that too. So thanks for everything you've done and for your help on the CNI.
You know, we won't be able to afford Greg anymore.
Well, it would be pro bono, you know.
Have to work on pro bono rates.
The other thing, Greg, is depending what happens, and you know, at some point you'll retire again, and we'd love, you know, if you
can come back, Greg.
If you can come back, we'd love to have.
Thank you, Esther.
If that works out.
Anytime.
Really appreciate it. It was great to get to know you. Thank you.
Yeah,
for being
likewise,
part.
Greg, and really enjoyed working with you. Really enjoyed. We're gonna miss you. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
And we hope you keep working on the Drainsville battlefield, Greg.
I'm sorry?
I said we hope you keep working on the Drainsville battlefield piece.
Yeah, no updates for you on that, but I'll keep you posted as I hear things.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Esther's
yes, I just wanted to share in keeping up with everything and working on the conference. In between, I had a little time to volunteer, first of all, for my church, doing 32 cards for the seniors that they will get. And then the opportunity came to do cards for a nursing home from my chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. And we're going to send them cards. So I've done 20 or 30 of these.
Nice.
They'll get gift cards or little tokens inside the card. So it's been quite a productive year. And I want to thank everyone that chaired, that worked on, that held office, because you've all been marvelous. And I learned so much from each of you. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen. Thanks,
All right. Any other announcements or?
Mary's got something to say.
I see Mary.
Yeah, I want to say thank you also, and I also want to say I appreciate the history I learned in doing this. I'm the native of Fairfax County, an American history teacher, but I was flabbergasted to just soak it all up. And of course, I wanted to write a novel or a book on each and every one of the facts that I found. I just want to add quickly that Phyllis and I are engaging ourselves with the West Springfield High School kids, and we'll be introducing an oral history project. We're going to encourage two students to work together and interview African Americans to get their story. Brian Heinz, the teacher, is all excited about it. And so we're hoping that we can get at least 10. And if it works well this year, then it's a nice project that could be repeated year after year, because the idea is to get their story down, and then the students will research what they've learned. Like if somebody says, I went to Luther Jackson High School, then they're going to go and do in the research what that high school was and add it to the transcript of the oral history. So I just wanted to share that and thank everybody for everything that they did to get that document to the Board of Supervisors. And Ann, thank you for your leadership.
Yeah. So I'm going to interrupt here because Mary has become the master of markers, our marker master. And not only did she do all of the markers, but then she did, and we're dealing with 94 that we identified, as you all know, but she also has been pulled in by Supervisor Palchak for developing the next series of markers that have to do with social history. So we're going to call her the marker master, and thank you, Mary, for excellent work.
Thank you.
Any more announcements while you're waiting to wave your arms around? One of the last things I'd like to say as chairman is we are so blessed with this amazing staff. You know, we always want more. We wish we had more than a liaison. We wish we had any number of Denises and Chris's and Megan's and Liz's and Stephanie's, but we've got what we got, and they are an awesome team to work with us. And you know, and if anything showed that, again, it was this project that we've all been working on for these last too many months. And what as frustrated it is that, you know, poor Denise, she's liaison. She's not our staff person. It's a very different role. But you've just been nothing but staff, you poor thing, for some months now. She's going to go back to trying to avoid us. I just know it. So, not that you ever did try to avoid us. That didn't come out right. All right. I think we can, if anybody has anything more to say, just speak aloud. Oh, I see Winifred.
I'm going to say that if we were in three-dimensional time, then we would have flowers for Denise, and we would have flowers for Liz, and we would even have flowers for Chris. So just
yes.
As you know.
We'd have flowers for you too.
Well, thank you.
Amen. Yeah.
Or maybe champagne. We should all have champagne.
Yes.
Oh, that's scary.
How about that? Winifred, did you? You're muted.
Winifred, can't hear you, honey. Can't hear you.
I can't unmute myself. So, Commissioner Beach, just for the record, where you're reporting from, Fairfax?
Bob, you're muted.
Fairfax, right? Okay.
That's always a good bet. We're somewhere in Fairfax. By definition, right? Okay. Good, everybody. Sorry to keep you so long, but oh well. But look how many stayed with it. Thank you all for sticking with it. 26 of us still. Oh, wow. Well, appreciate it. We'll see you in January, if not before.
Thank you.
Good. Happy holidays, everyone.
Love you, everybody.
Yes.
Be safe.
Bye.
Safe.
Bye.
Good night, Denise.
Good night, Liz.
It went longer than I had hoped, but